It feels like every day there's another headline about some new cyber threat, right? Breaches, ransomware. It never ends. And I bet a lot of you listening feel the same way I do, like you're constantly playing catch up, trying to plug holes in a leaky boat. If you're in charge of keeping your organization secure, how do you even begin to stay ahead of it all?
It's true. The threats are getting more sophisticated, faster. Honestly, traditional security just isn't cutting it anymore. We need to be more proactive. We need intelligent defenses.
And that's what we're diving into today. AI-driven managed detection and response, AI-powered MDR. Now, MDR, you probably heard the term. It's that mix of human expertise and technology that keeps an eye on things 24/7, monitoring for threats and responding to them. But adding AI to that mix, it's like giving your security team superpowers. It's not just reacting to threats anymore. It's about anticipating them, stopping them before they can even do any real damage. And that's across your endpoints, networks, cloud, everything. So today we're cutting through all the jargon, explaining how AI is really changing the game for MDR, what it means for you, the benefits, the challenges. We'll cover it all based on some really interesting research we dug up. Exactly. We're not just skimming the surface here. We're going deep. So let's get right to it. What is it about AI that makes it so powerful for MDR? What's the core of it? Yeah, good question. AI and MDR, what does it actually do?
Think about the sheer amount of data your systems generate every single day. Network traffic, logs, endpoint activity. It's just an overwhelming flood of information. No human team could possibly analyze all that in real time and actually spot the real threats. But AI can. It chews through massive data sets, spots those tiny anomalies, the subtle patterns that might mean an attack is happening right now. And here's the key. It can start responding automatically. That means your human analysts aren't drowning in alerts, and it means threats are contained faster, much faster.
So it's like having a security analyst who's super fast, never gets tired, and can see connections in the data that a human might miss. Pretty amazing. But how does it work in practice? What are the key things that AI actually does within an MDR framework?
Okay, a few key things. First, there's threat intelligence and hunting. Think of it this way. AI can take in a huge amount of information about threats, stuff from industry research, threat feeds, past attacks, and it analyzes all of it, processes it, enriches it. Then it uses that knowledge to actively hunt for threats that might already be lurking in your systems. Like, instead of waiting for a burglar to trip an alarm, you're sending out scouts to look for signs of intrusion before they even get in.
I like that analogy. That's a huge shift. Proactive, not reactive.
Right. And the second piece is behavioral analysis. AI is really good at establishing a baseline of what's normal for your systems. What does normal user behavior look like? What kind of traffic is usual for your applications and networks? Once it knows that, it can spot even the smallest deviations, things that could mean something's wrong. Think of it like your bank's fraud detection system, but way smarter.
So it's not just looking for known bad stuff, it's looking for anything out of the ordinary, which could be a sign of a brand new attack, something no one's seen before.
Exactly. And then there's automated response. AI can handle a lot of routine security alerts without any human intervention. Say it detects a known ransomware program on a computer. It can immediately isolate that computer from the network and start cleaning it up all automatically. So your human experts can focus on the really complex stuff, the threats that need a human brain to figure out.
It's like a triage system. AI handles the everyday emergencies, and the specialists are there for the really critical cases.
Yeah.
Now, this level of AI and security, it didn't just appear overnight, right? How did we get here? Give us a little history lesson.
It's been a journey, for sure. A long one. Back in the 1980s, we had what were called expert systems. Basically, they were trying to capture human knowledge about security and turn it into rules for a computer to follow. Not exactly the machine learning AI we have today, but it was a start.
So, early attempts to automate some of that human expertise.
Yep. Then, in the early 2000s, things started to change with machine learning, ML, and deep learning. These were completely different. Instead of just following rules, these algorithms could actually learn from data. Huge amounts of data about both normal and malicious activity. And the more data they saw, the better they got at spotting threats. Deep learning took it a step further. It could learn directly from raw data, like network traffic, without needing someone to tell it what to look for.
So they went from following instructions to learning from experience. That's a big deal.
Huge. And more recently, deep neural networks and large language models have pushed things even further. Now we have AI that can understand the nuances of language, the tricks that attackers use in phishing emails, and even predict what an attacker might do next based on what we know about them. We're getting close to AI that can actually predict and prevent attacks before they even happen.
Now, that's what I call a game changer. Can you give an example of what this looks like in the real world, what's happening right now with AI-powered MDR?
Sure. Take IBM, for example. They just announced their AI-powered threat detection and response services. They're saying they can automate up to 85% of security alerts. That means way less alert fatigue for your security team. They can spend their time on the really complex threats, the ones that need a human touch.
85% automation, that's pretty mind-blowing. So for companies out there who are thinking about adopting AI-driven MDR, what are the big differences compared to traditional MDR? What are the real benefits they can expect to see?
Well, as we've been talking about, it all boils down to efficiency and effectiveness. AI-driven MDR is just better at both. Automation is huge. It can handle probably 80 and 90% of the routine stuff. So incident response is faster, much faster. And because it's all automated, you get that same level of consistency every time, 247. Every alert is handled the same way.
So faster response, consistent handling. Definitely fixes some major headaches for security teams. But what about actually detecting threats? Does AI really make a difference there?
It makes all the difference. This is where machine learning and AI really shine. Real-time, proactive threat management. See, traditional MDR relies a lot on preset rules and knowing what bad things look like. But AI can spot anomalies, those subtle clues that something's not right, even if it's a brand new attack, and it can adapt on the fly. So if it sees a phishing email followed by some weird network activity from the same device, it can automatically escalate the response, isolate the device, things that would be much harder to do with traditional MDR.
So it's not just recognizing known threats, it's actually figuring out what's suspicious, even if it's never seen it before.
Exactly. And let's not forget about cost and resources. Because so much is automated, AI-driven MDR can save you a ton of money. Up to 50%, some say, compared to traditional MDR. You get 2047 protection without needing a huge team of analysts working around the clock.
That's a pretty compelling argument, especially for organizations that are struggling with budget and staffing issues. Anything else that sets AI-driven MDR apart?
Transparency, visibility. AI-driven MDR is much more open about what's going on. You get detailed reports, real-time metrics, everything. It's not a black box. You can see exactly what's happening, how the system is working. That builds trust.
So you're not just handing over the keys and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
You can actually see what's happening behind the scenes.
Right. And then there's the learning aspect. AI never stops learning. It learns from every bit of data it analyzes, every threat it encounters. So it's constantly getting better. Eventually, we're talking about predictive security stopping attacks before they even start.
AI that learns and evolves. Pretty powerful stuff. But I got to ask, with all this talk about AI, are we saying humans are out of the picture?
Absolutely not. AI is here to augment human expertise, not replace it.
Yeah.
We still need human analysts, especially for the really complex threats, the ones that need strategic thinking, contextual understanding, a human touch. AI handles the initial triage, the routine responses. It frees up the humans to focus on what matters most.
It's a partnership, AI and human intelligence working together. Now, for folks who are thinking about jumping into AI-powered MDR, what are some of the big players out there? Who should they be looking at?
Well, there's some big names in cybersecurity that are really leading the way with AI in MDR. Sentinel, for example. Their Singularity endpoint platform is a good example. They've got EDR, that's endpoint detection and response, focused on individual devices, and XDR, extended detection and response, which looks at data from across your whole system. And it's all powered by AI, designed to make life easier for your security analysts.
Sentinel, got it. What else?
CrowdStrike is another one. They have Falcon Complete Next-Gen MDR. It's their endpoint protection, but with expert threat hunters and AI built right in, helps them make better security decisions faster and automate a lot of the response.
So CrowdStrike, another big name, also using AI in a big way.
Then there's Palo Alto Networks. Their Cortex XDR platform is all about integration, pulling in data from your network, your endpoints, the cloud, everything. And they use AI to spot those really specific events, those tiny behaviors that might signal an attack.
Integrating all that data and using AI to analyze it. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a powerful approach. Then there's eSentire with their eSentire AI Investigator. They analyze a ton of different data sources. It's what they call multi-signal MDR, and AI is a big part of their threat hunting. But they're also using something called generative AI to answer security questions in real time and to help with internal investigations. It's a whole new way of doing security analysis.
Generative AI, that's a whole other topic. Fascinating stuff.
It is. And lastly, there's Sophos. Their Sophos managed detection and response uses machine learning for threat detection, but they also have human threat hunters. And they're known for being really user-friendly, makes AI-driven MDR accessible to more businesses.
So a lot of options out there. Big companies, smaller companies, all using AI to make MDR better. But I have to ask, is it all sunshine and roses? Are there downsides, things people should be aware of before they jump in?
You're right, it's important to be realistic. AI-driven MDR is amazing, but it's not perfect. There are challenges. Data security and privacy, for one. AI systems need a lot of data to work, sensitive data. So keeping that data secure, protecting privacy, that's absolutely crucial.
Makes sense. You're giving these systems access to some pretty important information.
And then there's the issue of making sure everything works together. Interoperability, they call it. There are a lot of different security tools and platforms out there. And sometimes getting them to talk to each other, share data smoothly, it can be a challenge.
So making sure the AI systems can actually work with your existing security tools is something to think about.
Yep. And then there's the trust factor. Organizations need to be comfortable letting the AI do its thing, trusting it to handle threats without needing a human to check every decision. That means transparency is really important. Understanding how the AI works, how it makes decisions, that helps build trust.
Letting go of some of that control, yeah, it can be tough.
It can. And of course, there's the cost. Implementing and maintaining some of these AI-driven MDR solutions can be expensive.
Yeah.
It's not always a simple plug-and-play solution. Depends on how big your organization is, what your needs are.
So it's not a magic bullet for everyone.
And one more thing. We still need more long-term data. We need to see how these systems perform in the real world over time against all sorts of different threats. It's still early days.
So some things to think about. It's not all hype. There are real challenges. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. AI-driven MDR. What's the big takeaway for our listeners?
It's simple. AI-driven MDR is a big step forward for cybersecurity. It's about using the power of automation and intelligent analysis to stay ahead of the bad guys, to build a stronger, more resilient defense.
More efficient, more effective security. That's the promise.
And for you, the listener, that means real benefits. Your security team can work more efficiently, you can respond to incidents faster, you might even save money, and you'll have a much clearer picture of your overall security posture.
All pretty important in today's world.
Absolutely. But be realistic. Understand the challenges. This is a field that's constantly evolving, so stay informed, ask questions, and make the best decisions for your organization.
Great advice. So as we wrap up, here's something for you all to think about. AI is changing fast. Cyber threats are changing fast. How do we adapt? How do we make sure we're using these powerful AI tools in the best way possible? That's the question we all need to be thinking about because the future of cybersecurity depends on it.